gathered from the film that education is really lacking, and yet, particularly that one guy who spoke, that lovely man, he seemed to be so, if not, I mean, I can understand people can have wisdom without being educated, but he did seem educated. He spoke English well.
Yeah, he was educated. He'd been to the university, Serge. Yeah, a couple of those guys, and that was very encouraging to me because Serge and Agali, they both went to the university in Niamey, and so they are Tuareg, and they've been to the city. They understand the modern world, and yet it hasn't affected it. It hasn't changed them. Their heart is still with their culture. And they still go back to Agadez, which is not the city. It's a very remote city in the desert. And it's just really encouraging to me to know them and know them as educated Tuaregs, and that they're just going to carry on as Tuareg and as this fabulous culture of people.
Just
one before you.
just briefly, could you tell us Bombino's story? And why is he in trouble, or why was he in trouble in Niger, and how did he get where he is?
Well, he's not in trouble anymore because the rebellion has calmed down. But he was a musician, and when he first started to play the guitar, he was very young, about 12, as you said, and as you saw. And at that time, the government was very paranoid of musicians, and the guitar was actually illegal for Tuareg. They did not. The government is very uncomfortable with nomadic people because they can't control nomadic people, because nomadic people are moving around, and governments, especially when you have resources such as uranium and oil and gold and things, they want to market that. They want to make outside countries and investors feel safe, and that's hard for them to. They can't control a nomadic group. So when Bombino started to learn the guitar, it was essentially illegal, and so it was an act of rebellion to be learning the guitar. And so the Tuareg, who have been in rebellion over and over and over again, that was just part of their process of being rebels, and so Bombino has been exiled a couple of times, and actually the first time I met him, he was exiled from Niger. He was in Burkina Faso the first year, and things were very problematic. Two of his musicians had just been killed a year before that. I mean, just taken out and shot by the military in Agadez. And it just wasn't safe for him. He was getting harassed, he was getting arrested, and the government and the military was very nervous about having a young, up-and-coming symbol of the new Tuareg out there. So, but things have calmed down since then, and he's back, and hopefully things are really changing for the better in Niger. And there'll be news, we'll be seeing in the news in the next few months. Hopefully there's going to be new elections there. There was just the military coup of the government, and hopefully we will have the first truly democratic election in Africa that we've seen in a long time. That's what we're hoping. So.
Does the peace mean that there's some settlement with the uranium and all the precious things that the Tuaregs have in their nomadic land? But that looks kind of like a city where it looks pretty settled. Where Agadez.
Yeah, Agadez. There's a couple of cities that you're seeing in that film. Some of the cities with a lot of the traffic was in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. But Agadez is still pretty remote. But there is a bit of modern infrastructure. There's cars, there's kind of gas stations, everybody's got a cell phone. You know, one of the, throughout Africa, one of the curses of countries in Africa is natural resources. If they discover gold, diamonds, oil, uranium, the first thing that does is attract corrupt people to influence a corrupt government, and it encourages corruption, and it's, you know, it's just an ongoing problem throughout Africa, and there's I know that China alone has got $5 billion on the table for uranium mine leases up in the Tuareg region. And as you might guess, the Chinese are not big on OSHA sort of organizations and environmental, you know, humanitarian causes. I mean, they go in there with the bulldozers, the water tables are getting polluted with uranium, and the Tuareg are just getting forced out of their areas. So.
It's such an enlightened for a people that, I guess from what we saw, not many are college educated. They are such an enlightened people.
Yeah.
They treat their women, they're enlightened.
Yeah, I mean, that's what drew me to this. Is just a wisdom. This is just a wisdom that they have hung on to through the. I'm talking with Jack McEnany is here. He was over there. He's a writer from New Hampshire here, and he was with me on this last trip up there, and we're just really feeling a need to do a book about this because there's so much more. I mean, there's only so much you can do in an hour film. But there's so much to learn from them.
Probably have time for one more question. Anyone else?
Van, you must have a question.
I don't have questions.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. And there are CDs out there. The last of the pre-issued CDs.